In the heart of Jakarta, on a regular Monday morning in 1981, two security guards were making their usual rounds until they caught a whiff of something unnatural. In the morning, Suryadi Jaya and Adi Sumarna were already working as security guards at PT Garuda Mataram Motor on Jalan Jenderal Sudirman, Setiabudi, South Jakarta, on November 23, 1981. At that time, they looked out at the busy and densely trafficked streets. Suddenly, their noses smelled an unpleasant odor, a pungent stench. When they smelled the bad smell, the eyes of the two security guards fell on two cardboard boxes lying on the sidewalk of Jalan Setiabudi, not far from the pedestrian bridge. Suryadi Jaya and Adi Sumarna approached the boxes, but they had a bad feeling. That's why they didn't dare open them. The two then reported the discovery of the boxes to the police who were directing traffic. The police did not immediately follow up on the report of the two security guards because they were more focused on regulating traffic between Jalan Setiabudi and Jalan Sudirman, which was congested. Not long after, two scavengers passed by. They were happy to find two cardboard boxes piled on the sidewalk. Not bad, the cardboard boxes could be sold, they thought. The two scavengers were surprised. When they lifted the cardboard was heavy. Curious, they opened the cardboard. When the cardboard was opened, they were shocked, their voices caught in their throats. The eyes of the two scavengers were fixed on the object inside the cardboard. It contained a piece of a head and pieces of human bones. Not only that, the second box turned out to contain pieces of meat and human organs. The two scavengers shouted, inviting a crowd of people who were passing by on the street. The police, who had been reported by the security guard, approached the location. The police initially did not believe it and thought it might be pieces of beef. However, when the police saw the contents of the box directly, the hair on the back of their necks immediately stood up. The latest condition of the Setiabudi-Sudirman Road intersection. The body parts were then taken to Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital. The next day, residents were shocked by the headlines of all the newspapers in circulation. That was the first time a case of mutilation victims had been found in Indonesia. The case was even named the Setiabudi 13 mutilation, based on the 13 human body parts found on Jalan Setiabudi. But many also named this mutilation case Persona 13. The late Dr. Abdul Munim Idris, a legendary forensic expert from RSCM, was the forensic expert from RSCM who examined the mutilation victim. He said that from the results of the autopsy of the bones and flesh, it was known that the perpetrator was very sadistic. The killer not only cut up the victim's body, but also cut and peeled all the flesh from the bones. What's unique is that his face was not harmed. His palms were still there, his soles were still there. The rest was like a roast goat, cut into hundreds of pieces. Then his lungs, liver, and spleen were still intact. The murder and mutilation are estimated to have occurred on November 21, 1981, because the victim's body was already rotting when it was found. The perpetrator cut the victim using a hacksaw because small friction marks were found on the bones. The victim is estimated to be between 18 to 21 years old, 165 centimeters tall, slightly fat and sturdy, and has a mole. The victim has phimosis, or a very narrow urinary opening at the tip of his penis. All of Munim Idris's statements were recorded under the title Indonesia X-File, which was published in June 2013. The victim was mutilated by more than one person, because according to Munim, cutting bones and peeling corpses is not an easy job. At that time, the police suspected that the cruel murder was motivated by revenge. The victim was placed in a public place so that news of the murder would spread quickly. But strangely, There are fingerprints, faces, but it has not been revealed until now. The forensic team at that time agreed that the perpetrators were very skilled. As an illustration, even trained professional forensic experts need about 2 hours just to dissect a corpse. But the perpetrators allegedly only needed 3 to 4 hours. Another clue, the plastic bags used to wrap the victim's body parts were used book wrappers. The plastic contained the name of a shop located on Jalan Pasar Baru, central Jakarta, while the other plastic was a supermarket plastic that turned out to be close to Pasar Baru. Inside the cardboard box were 3 copies of an afternoon newspaper, August 19th, 1981. The newspaper still looked neat as if it had never been read. However, with that clue, the police were unable to find the perpetrator. The remains were buried in Tegal Alur Cemetery on November 26th. The Setiabudi 13 case marked the first officially recorded mutilation case in Indonesia. Or so we thought. Psychologist Professor Enoch Markham later revealed that 61 mutilation cases had been documented in the country since 1967, but none left the same scar. 40 years later, the case remains unsolved. No name, no killer, just 13 pieces of a body, and a mystery that refuses to die. If you think you've heard worse, just wait. This is only the beginning.